right, guys, it's time. You know what time it is? It's time to start cleaning the barn. Before we get into it, though, let's go check the propane. Quick recap for those of you that are new. Holly and I use propane to heat our house, and it's our job to make sure that the levels of the propane tank are monitored. Well, I beefed it. I forgot to check the levels until just last week when I found out that we had a little bit over 10% of propane in the tank left. I called up the propane company, asked them to send somebody out to refill it. They said it would take about 10 business days to get somebody out. So it's business day number 4, and I want to see how much propane that I've got left. It's getting tight. Well, enough about the propane. Let's chat about this barn. So I've been talking about it for months, how once the weather gets cooler, I'd like to get a dumpster ordered out here and start clearing the barn out. And although the weather's a lot cooler, I still haven't ordered a dumpster just yet. But that doesn't mean I can't get started on this project. I've broken the barn task into 5 different barn areas. There's the hayloft, there's the stalls, there's the north porch, there's the south porch, and then there's the little manger shed off to the side of the barn, maybe 5 yards away from the front of the barn. Now what I'd like to do is clear 2 of those areas first. One for staging usable things that I find, things like good wood, corrugated paneling, doors that are in good shape, windows that are in good shape, things like that. And one area for staging junk, things that will end up going to the dumpster when I get it carted out here. So rotten wood, styrofoam paneling, random detritus, things like pop cans and old buckets, things like that. And so what I need to do first is determine what's going to be my staging area for the good stuff and what's going to be my staging area for the bad stuff. So I'm probably going to be getting rid of more stuff than I'll be keeping. So with that in mind, I want the staging area for the junk to be fairly large. I also want it to be accessible to wherever we end up placing the dumpster. Now, we're probably going to bring the dumpster in via my parents' driveway. So with all that in mind, I think I'm going to use the south porch here as my main staging area for junk, for bad stuff. Now, the staging area for the stuff I'd like to keep doesn't need to be as large since I won't be having as much of that stuff, but it does need to be covered because I'd like to keep any salvageable materials out of the elements as much as possible. So with that in mind, I'm probably going to end up using this little manger shed as the place where I put my good stuff. Good wood, good salvageable cinder blocks, things like that. I'll keep that here. With the parameters set, I think my order of operations is pretty clear. I need to clean out my good staging area, this shed, very first thing. All right, I'm going to get started. So after a few hours of working this thing, I think I've got it good enough for my purposes, which is, again, just simply storing wood. Doesn't need to be fancy. It doesn't need to even really be all that safe. It just needs to be a roof for my good materials, my good-ish materials. That's it. And so I think I've accomplished that. Going into this task, I really didn't think I had all that much. Boy, was I wrong. So the stuff that I'm going to throw away that I just collected from this shed is in this pile, and in this trash can. The stuff that is good, the stuff that I'm going to keep and hold on to, is in this small pile right here. A couple of boards and a few dowels that I might be able to use for shovels and whatnot. So anyways, I'm going to put all of this junk into, like I said, the bad staging area, the staging area for dumpster-bound things, and put my few good materials from my job today back into the shed. I still need to get the outside of the shed. It's in really bad condition. I'm going to have to come at it with shears, with a weed whacker, and with a lot of patience, but I think this little shed, this little manger, is on its way to serving some utility in its life again, and not just being an eyesore. Homesteading is all about small incremental wins, I think, and this was a very small incremental win. Just the beginning, the very first step in my quest to have a clean, functional homestead and a clean, functional barn. Hey guys, before you go, real quick update. It's the day after I filmed the video, the footage that you saw yesterday, and I've started moving the good wood here into this little shed. Now, the thing about some of the wood that I found is that it's what I'd consider kind of low-grade wood. It could go to the dumpster, but I could also justify hanging on to it. So for that low-grade wood, what I did was I used that to kind of layer the bottom of the shed with this kind of makeshift wooden floor. It gives the wood that I do put down a little added layer of protection, and even though it's janky, it kind of looks nicer than it did. Just kind of a gross dirt floor with glass and junk and pieces of paper from bygone era. Regardless, this is wood that I might end up using one day, but it's a last resort type of wood, so I think it actually serves a really good purpose right now as kind of a deck for this little shed manger thing. I'm pretty happy with it.